Winning Cures Everything. Now for your hosts, Gary and Chris.
Welcome in, Winning Cures Everything. This is the Friday, July 30th edition of the show. I'm Gary.
Chris.
And we have got conferences going to war with TV networks and all kind of fun stuff to talk about today. We got kids opting out of high school, possibly to go ahead and start their college career. Aaron Rodgers went scorched earth. I mean, this has been a crazy, crazy time of the year. And yeah, I said it the other day. I will never vacation again on the week of media days and whatnot. Like this, I'm just going to have to knock out vacation in June. That's just how it's going to have to be going forward. Chris, how's your day going?
Day's fine, man. Day's fine. No issues, no problems. Ready to roll, man.
Wonderful. I like the new video setup. Everything looks wonderful. So
thanks. I'm still tweaking some things, and so we'll see what the final product looks like. But
that's the Winning Cures Everything way. Like that's what we do. For people that have listened and watched and whatnot for years and years, we always get new gadgets. We always get new gear, and we're constantly trying new things to make sure that it sounds and looks good. So with that said, let's go ahead and roll through the rundown. WinningCuresEverything.com is the website. Everywhere you need to follow or subscribe is right over there. Do us a favor. Go check it out. All the shows, all the previews, everything else is going to be right there. We do a college football show for Sportsbook Review, and our last two previews are up or will be up. I think the last one is going up later on Friday. So go ahead and check those out. SBRpicks.com/NCAAF. And, we are ready to rock and roll. Let's see. I want to start us off with the cease and desist letter from the Big 12 to ESPN. Bob Bowlesby comes out and basically says that ESPN has been colluding, and it took forever. He talked to basically every college football media guy that he could find. Anybody that would pick up, he called and was talking to him. And it started with, yeah, we know ESPN is talking to some other conferences about possibly trying to rip away some of our teams, but he wouldn't say who the conference is. And then as the night goes along, last night about 11:30 or so, Dennis Dodd gets a message from him, and I think they said it was an unnamed source, but the rest of the story was him, so it was kind of easy to figure out who it was that he was talking to. And Bowlesby said that the American Athletic Conference has been trying to not take 3, not take 5. They were trying to take the entire other 8 teams. They were going to make a 19-team league, and that ESPN had something to do with that. Just a disaster. Bowlesby coming out and saying, sending a cease and desist letter to ESPN, who is one of their media rights partners, is a level of balls I have never seen from a conference commissioner in my life. This was something else entirely. Let me go ahead and get you to jump in here before I ramble on the entire rest of the time. What were your thoughts when you saw this?
So I want to start with a question. Do you think he's right?
Yes, I think he's right.
Yeah, 100% right. We agree. There's no doubt ESPN 100% colluded with the SEC to try to make this thing happen because they want it to happen better.
Yes.
They want out of that Big 12 contract. They don't think they're getting their value for it. They get one game a year. That's a marquee game, and that's the Red River rivalry, and that's it.
But ESPN hadn't even gotten that. ESPN hasn't gotten Red River.
Fox still has that.
Yeah, so this is almost like an ESPN versus Fox thing.
Yeah, it's not even just that. It's they're not getting their money's worth on the Big 12 games, and so they want out of that contract, and then they also don't want to have to pay out the money they owe for their contracts for the Big 12. So if the Big 12 dissolves, then they don't have to worry about it. So yes. I agree with you. I like the balls on the AAC commissioner to I thought go after, 3 of these guys, get to 14 teams. I thought that was kind of a big deal move. This guy said, hell no, we're going to get them all. We'll just merge with them, but we're not merging with them. They're merging with us because we're the one with stability. We're the one with something more to, we think we have the more marquee schools. And I think as of right now, would you rather have Cincinnati or Oklahoma State? I think everybody in the country would take, I think they take UCF before they took Oklahoma State.
I think
and
so
I
too.
think Oklahoma State's the only premier product they have to offer. Like TCU and Baylor are probably 2, 3. West Virginia's probably in there at 4. You can't just put Iowa State in there because we brought this up before. Iowa State is really good right now. But the second Matt Campbell walks away from Iowa State, how much value do they have?
It's not much.
I think you'd rather have SMU and Houston over those other schools or equal to those other schools because you got big schools in the state of Texas. The nice thing is Houston's bigger than all of them.
Yes. I mean, if you're looking for brands, if you're looking for markets, the AAC has them in spades. And the Big 12. Yeah, the leftovers of the Big 12 do not. The other thing that I saw, did you hear about the projections for what each school would bring in the Big 12 in 2024, 2025 if they do not expand, if they do not bring in anything else? They would bring in $9 million per school. They're currently making $36 million, I believe.
Yeah, that's not great.
No.
That's not very good at all.
No, it is not.
That will set you back. If you're the Big 12, you kind of don't want that.
So if you are the Big 12 schools and you have an opportunity, I guess, to move in with the AAC, while it may not seem like much right now, where maybe they're making $16 million per school if they merge with the AAC, it may not seem like a lot, but it may be better than what you do on your own, right?
So I completely agree. I do think they're more valuable. I kind of hope this plays out long enough just to stick it a little to ESPN and Texas and Oklahoma. But at some point in time, these schools have to figure out if we stick together, we will make a lot of money off of the ESPN contract and Texas and Oklahoma leaving from their like penalties, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, once they're gone, all that money's gone. And so, it's almost one of those things where do we do this to spite these groups of people, these 3 entities, or do we, I don't know what just happened.
Did you hear that?
You hearing what I'm hearing?
Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. I just heard a bunch of fuzz. Anyway, do you do what's best for your squad? At some point in time, you have to say, am I going to do something that's the right thing to do for me, or am I going to do the thing that spites the other groups that harmed me?
Yeah, okay. I can see where you're coming from on that. I'm a little torn because I think so. Here's where I got all screwed up last night, right? Wednesday night, I guess it was, when everything was going on, and there was a letter from a conference commissioner to ESPN about, hey, stop talking to our teams. The teams make up the conferences, right? So the conference commissioner has to basically represent these schools, but this looks like Bowlesby just trying to save his job. Like, this doesn't seem like...
Oh, there's a lot of that, because if for some reason the Big 12 implodes, then Bowlesby's out of a job. He's unemployed.
Yeah, I mean, yes, for sure.
And what's he going to do? There is no more Big 12. What he just said, it's a company that went bankrupt. Like, if you're the CEO of a company that goes bankrupt and closes its doors, there's no more company for you to CEO. You're unemployed now.
Yeah. Yes, you're correct. You are correct. I don't know exactly how to fix that issue.
Well, you don't. Bowlesby's out of a job. Listen, this happens to people all the time when you're in the big business like he is, running $100 million up to $1 billion organizations. You sometimes lose your job. Okay, that just happens. One day the NCAA is going to implode, and Mark Emmert or whoever's sitting in Mark Emmert's seat, it's going to be unemployed. All right, that's just the cost of this thing. You've been bad at your job. Right? I think the reason the Big 12 is as weak as it is and struggles the way it struggles for anybody to compete with Texas and Oklahoma on a regular basis is because Texas and Oklahoma take too much of the pie. All right.
Well, yes.
We've seen this in the past. Yes, Alabama is the dominant team in the SEC, but teams have beaten Alabama. Teams have won the SEC on top of Alabama and gone on to win championships outside of Alabama or compete for them. And the only way you get that is if LSU is a poor state school. And if the SEC was constituted back in the days of when the old contract was signed, where Bama got a bigger piece of the pie than everybody else, then Bama would be that much farther ahead. And this would really be a Big Ten situation where there's nobody everybody's playing for second place. Nobody's playing for first. Like, there's not an option for somebody to come up and beat them.
Yes.
And that's basically the way the Big 12 has set themselves up. Even with all those benefits and the extra money, Texas hadn't consistently won at all, which is kind of sad on their part.
It's all based on hiring. It's all hiring.
But we don't know that it's hiring. We both think that it's a booster's problem, right?
Well, yes,
we don't
partly,
think it's hiring.
but
I'm going to tell you this. I think Tom Herman's a good coach. I think if Tom Herman got to run that program from start to finish the way he wanted to, without hands involved, Texas would have been substantially better than Texas is. I could be wrong on that. Might be proven wrong. But I think Tom Herman is a lot better of a head coach than what we got with Tom Herman.
I think that it has to do with you have to have somebody that is capable of standing up to those. Somebody's got to be strong-willed. Alabama didn't have a coach that was able to do that forever. And no, you're not going to be able to hire Nick Saban at Texas. But
they're not going to hire somebody who's that strong-willed unless there's two men on that list. Okay, there's Nick Saban, there's Urban Meyer. That's the list of people that you would allow to walk in your program and tell the boosters, leave the checkbook, hit the door.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else in college football you think those boosters would allow to do that?
I think that there's some that would come in there and just take it over and not allow them in because you can do that.
Those people would be fired the first loss that they have.
I mean, you might be right about that. You might be right about that.
They just would be fired.
So the Big 12, of course, sends the cease and desist. ESPN has responded to them. I want to read this letter in its entirety because it's not long, but this is crazy. The letter starts, "Dear Bob," like talking to Bowlesby, of course, which you start a letter like that, automatically I'm like, yes, let's go. It says, "This responds to your letter dated July 28th, 2021. The accusations you have made are entirely without merit, apart from a single vague allegation that ESPN has been actively engaged in discussions with at least one other unnamed conference, which ESPN disputes. Your letter consists entirely of unsubstantiated speculation and legal conclusions. To be clear, ESPN has engaged in no wrongful conduct, and thus there is nothing to cease and desist. We trust this will put the matter to rest. ESPN reserves all rights and remedies in connection with this matter. Sincerely, Burke Magnus." That's basically saying, prove it. Like, are you sure you want to fight with us? Because
what ESPN needs to be very careful of, they better be certain that there are zero emails sent to Oklahoma and to Texas.
Oh, the FOIA stuff is going to be so fantastic.
Because those are two state schools that are privy to FOIA.
Yes.
And if any email was ever sent from any ESPN person, you don't have to get the American stuff. You can just get them trying to pull them away from the Big 12 alone. Yeah. That in itself is going to go down as collusion. I guarantee you ESPN's going to end up owing the entire brunt of that contract if that happens in some civil lawsuit to all 8 of these schools remaining, and not get any of the product. Well, the Big 12 will be allowed to tear the contract up, go to another party completely, and all the money ESPN owes them, they will pay them anyway.
So I think this doesn't have as much to do with Texas and Oklahoma as it does with the remaining 8, right? So
I get that, but the problem is that's going to be really hard to prove because the American Conference, I don't know, is going to fall. I mean, I guess they will fall under some FOIA stuff.
Well, no, it's not them. It's you're going to have to look for Texas Tech, Kansas State, Iowa State. Those are all public schools.
That's right. You're going to have to see, did they approach any of the individual schools? That's right. But I think even the collusion of trying to pull Texas and Oklahoma is just enough for them to say we're owed the penalty for both of those teams leaving, no matter if our conference dissolves or not, and we're owed the balance of that contract that you owe us. We'll take that in one large check, please.
Yeah.
I do think that if they find those emails, which I would believe there's emails out there, they don't need damning evidence. This is all going to fall under civil litigation, which means they need 51%, 50.9%.
Yeah,
that's it.
You're right.
That's it. Or 50.1%. I'm sorry. That's all they need is more probable than not enough evidence to think that it happened. I believe that it did. I believe there's enough people out there that think that it did. I also think this is going to be tried. This is where politics meets sports. This is going to be tried in red states, and ESPN has gone out of their way to very much upset red states.
Yes, you are correct.
I regardless of where you lean on the political, both of those things are factual statements. There's not a single blue state where this will be tried in, and that there's not a single red state that would say overwhelmingly they are excited about ESPN and what has happened at ESPN over the last 5 to 6 years, maybe 8 years.
Yeah, no, you're correct about that, 100%. Let's
I think
move off.
ESPN's going to lose this battle almost no matter, even if they don't have evidence. It's just we're going to state this is what we think happened, and a jury of their peers, somebody's going to put together and say, we believe these people over these people.
Yeah, I mean, it could absolutely happen, but we shall see. We shall see exactly what will go on with that, because we're bound to get more information over the next however many days. So let's move off of that. Let's talk about another college football topic. The conferences, it looks like they are pumping the brakes on the 12-team playoff. And it has a lot to do with the Pac-12, who George Kliavkoff at Pac-12 Media Days came out and said, we don't think expansion is required to continue to compete and thrive. That said, the fallout from Texas and Oklahoma gives us an opportunity to once again consider expansion. He said, we have already had significant inbound interest from many schools. We will work with our presidents and chancellors to evaluate those opportunities. And, of course, that's got to be the remaining Big 12 schools, right? Like, some people have reached out because it's up to the schools to reach out. None of these other conferences can steal from each other due to these grant of rights contracts and all that. So, but the whole thing about pumping the brakes on this 12-team playoff, right? It seems we knew that this was happening very, very fast, right? The 12-teamer. And we even questioned, they got a contract for like 5 more years.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world is happening? And I think the majority of that was, now that I'm looking at how things are going, this was ESPN pushing the SEC to get this thing done so that they could go ahead and get the contract rights for it beyond however many years. Because ESPN did not want this thing to go to the open market, and yet the Pac-12 for sure wants it to go to the open market. The Big Ten was not ever even involved in the conversations. Remember, the committee was Jack Swarbrick from Notre Dame, Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, Bob Bowlesby, Big 12 commissioner, and the Mountain West commissioner, Craig Thompson. Those guys kind of bull rushed this thing through. I say bull rushed because they worked for 2 years on it, right? In secret, in quiet, whatever. But they did this. And
that's what I would say, too, if I rushed something through. If I finished a project over the weekend that I had 9 months to work on, I would say that I worked on it for 9 months.
Yes, but they got it through
finished
very quickly.
This weekend, though.
And I'm sure that the SEC did not want this Texas-Oklahoma stuff to get out as quickly as it did. And they wanted to get the playoff stuff done, because if you've got Texas and Oklahoma along with LSU, Florida, Alabama, like you are, I would almost say you're guaranteed 4 of those 12 spots every year.
I would agree with 4.
And
I would agree with 4. But I think that's where, here's the thing, though. I think that's it. And if you're the rest of the country, I think you're okay with that.
Yeah, I think so. But I look at this, and now I think these other conferences are like, hold up. Like, this isn't exactly what we signed up for. We thought we were going to get, more of everybody. And you will, but
hang on. How many did we think the SEC was going to get if we don't bring Texas and Oklahoma in? We all assumed that every year we would get 3 or 4 anyway.
Well, we were talking about 3 or 4, but now we're talking about the possibility of 4 or 5, right?
No, but 5's not going to happen. We're going to cannibalize ourselves. At some point in time, you're going to let somebody in with 3 or 4 losses.
Well, yes, absolutely. But either
because
way,
that's how math works.
This is why
and 5 teams all be undefeated. That ain't going to work.
Right. No, of course not. But that's what I'm saying is that's why they are pumping the brakes on this. They are stopping it and saying, all right, hold on. We gotta rethink this whole thing.
I don't understand that at all. I think I'm okay with stopping it until all of this realignment bullshit settles. That I'm okay with. Letting the dust settle on whatever's happening. Whatever's going to happen to the Big 12 teams, let it happen and then pick this back up. I'm okay with that. But stopping it because we need to rethink it because we think the SEC will have too much power. Once again, this is a group of schools. Let's say there's 64 legitimate schools, 80 legitimate schools that want to compete in football. Now, they're in various levels of good, but they all want to compete. They all put money and effort and energy in trying to be good at football. Okay. If that's the case, and the SEC is made up of 16 of those schools, regardless of how big they are, the other group is far larger and going to have more voices, louder cries, and they're going to get just as much, if not more, now than they would have when the SEC was only 12 schools back in the day. The SEC getting bigger doesn't necessarily make the SEC stronger overall. It does. It means the best that comes out of the SEC is the best, unquestionably, and nobody's going to argue that. But the best team doesn't always win when you get into a playoff. When you get into a 2-game playoff, that ain't testing anybody. But when you have to play through a bracket of a playoff, then you can slip up at any time.
Yes, absolutely.
And the best team rarely wins the Super Bowl. The best team rarely wins the NCAA tournament. The best team, I guess, in best of sevens, the best team wins all the time in NBA. But it ain't nothing. When you play a 1-game elimination, the best team rarely wins when you go through a wild bracket. So this would actually benefit all the other conferences and all the other schools. Their fear of it is foolish. It's just absolutely foolish. I don't think the SEC would get any more than 4 teams in, no matter what. There's never a year where we'd get 5, which means if you go to 12, you've got a lot more schools that have an opportunity to play in this thing and compete. I'm going to bet all the other power conferences are going to get 2 in almost every year. And that makes them a lot more money than just getting 1 in a bunch of SEC schools and then a couple of also-rans.
Let me present another case to you. The SEC wants this playoff thing done. They want it done with ESPN, who is their partner.
That's right.
The SEC tells all these other conferences, hey, it is in your best interest to go along with this playoff and get it done now with ESPN, or, hey, we're open to more expansion. And all of your best teams have already reached out to us. Your Ohio State and Michigan and USC and Oregon, et cetera, have all reached out. Y'all do with it what you want to. If you want to pump the brakes on this and make it 4 teams, that's cool. But we are going to take all of the television revenue, and it's up to y'all what you want to do.
I don't understand how the SEC would take all the television revenue.
If the SEC has USC and Oregon and Ohio State and whatever, they take the best teams from these other conferences.
You're talking about adding the SEC, adding those teams to the SEC?
Yes.
No, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, we didn't think Texas and Oklahoma would happen.
No, that's not true. We did not think that. Years ago, when conference realignment happened, everyone talked Texas or Oklahoma could come, or Florida State and Clemson could come. Now, we always thought that if the SEC ever expanded again, it would be big boys coming. All right. They weren't taking little schools. Okay.
Agreed. And I'm not talking about them taking little schools right now. I'm talking about them taking the best of these other conferences.
There's zero chance that Ohio State would want to come to the SEC. There's zero chance because now Ohio State is the biggest monster not in the SEC, and they control the landscape of all the other 80-something schools that are left outside of the SEC.
Don't get me wrong. I agree with you on that. I agree because if it was just about controlling the landscape or whatever.
Why wouldn't the SEC – hang on. I know that the SEC already has a partnership with ESPN. Okay? We've already got that partnership. We've already got that contract. We already got that money. Wouldn't it be in the SEC's best interest, seeing that every year they're probably going to get 4 teams in? Wouldn't it be in their best interest to allow the playoff to go to an open bid and the highest bidder win it? Why do they care that ESPN gets it, their quote unquote TV partner? They don't give a shit. If they can make more money because Fox overpays for it or CBS or NBC overpays for the thing, why wouldn't that be in the SEC's best interest? SEC's not ESPN.
I agree with you.
We're just conference partners. And if Fox is willing to overpay or up the bid, or NBC is willing to up the bid, CBS, it's in the SEC's best interest to get in a bidding war for the playoff. It's not in anybody's best interest to just give it to ESPN.
I tend to agree with you.
That's how math works.
Yes, understandably. But when you are in bed with somebody and you are working out your deals,
that's not how. Listen, the only person that would want that would be Greg Sankey, and that's if ESPN's giving him money under the table. If ESPN is bribing Greg Sankey, because it doesn't help the schools at all. It doesn't help a single school at all.
Well, it helps all of those SEC schools if ESPN is upping the money for them, because they have to renegotiate. I don't think that they can
contractually do that.
No, they have to renegotiate this deal right now if they get this playoff done now.
Hang on. If ESPN ups the SEC deal and the playoff deal have to be separate.
Yes.
Because they're two separate entities. The playoff is for all the schools that might be in the playoff, regardless of how many games there is, right?
Correct.
The SEC has its own deal with them. That has to be done separately. You're telling me that if the SEC pushes and strong arms everybody else to get this done, we'll give the SEC more money. But if they don't, we're going to give them less money. I'd call their bluff on that shit.
I'm with you. I'm not arguing that aspect of it.
This is where the SEC walks into ESPN and they do exactly what the NFL does. They put a bag over their head, they put a gun in their mouth, and they tell them, this is how much you're going to pay us. There's no conference negotiations. This is what we want. Sign the damn paper. Yeah. That's exactly what Roger Goodell has done to Fox, NBC, and CBS and ESPN, by the way, for years. All right. There is no negotiation. He walks in the room, he puts a gun to their head, and he says, sign the paper. Because we're the biggest entity in the world. Nobody brings eyeballs to the table like we do. Sign the paper. Yes. This is how much we want. If you're the SEC, that's exactly how you negotiate your deal with ESPN. And then you walk away and you let the other entities make ESPN bid that shit up so you can make more money.
Yeah.
Because you're going to make more on the top of everything. It's one thing to have a partnership. It's another thing to be corrupt. If you get involved with collusion and corruption, the only things that can happen are bad. You might be able to make a little bit of money, but if anybody finds out about any type of collusion like that, all these contracts go away and people involved go to jail.
Yeah.
Yes. So why would you risk it when you're making billions to make a few more million? That's not worth it.
And see, we talk as if we know, but I mean, these people do this every day.
Well, then those people are stupid.
Well, agreed on that, but greed is a crazy thing, man. Like once you got this much, you're always thinking maybe.
I understand wanting more. I totally get the concept of always wanting more, but at some point in time, that doesn't make any sense to me for the SEC to try and get ESPN a cheaper deal, and ESPN's gonna, scratch their back on the back end with more money to them. No. I want to get our TV deal done. And then we'll address the playoff thing as is. That's the only way I would do that.
We will see exactly what ends up happening with that, because this could, the Pac-12.
If Sankey does anything other than that, then I'm going to be very disappointed in Sankey. I'm just going to be very disappointed in him. It's going to say a lot. It's one thing to work really hard to make your conference a lot of money and make yourself a lot of money. I'm for that. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
But trying to help ESPN make more money, so because that only benefits individuals, that's not going to benefit these schools. I guarantee you, the money that they save the ESPN is all going to end up going to a few presidents that are of value, and it's going to go to Sankey. It's going to go to people's pocket direct pocket, not these schools. These schools aren't going to see a dime of it.
Let's swap the topics right quick because we do want to do our NFC East previews. Let's talk right quick about Quinn Ewers, South Lake Carroll High School quarterback. This is supposed to be his senior year. Looks like he is going to be skipping his senior season and going ahead and enrolling at Ohio State. Now, we've seen this in basketball. Kids reclassify all the time, right? Never that big of a deal. I just never imagined that we would see it in high school football, right? And especially in Texas. So the way that Texas high school laws are set up, you cannot play and take name, image, likeness. Now, I believe that you can do it now with football, with college football, but not for high school. And Ewers has $1 million worth of NIL endorsement deals just waiting on him to sign. So from that aspect, I can understand why you would go ahead and leave early and collect your checks, right? I've never been against kids making money. The part of it that I don't like is the fact that this is the second high school kid, like highly rated high school kid out of Texas that is skipping the senior season and prepping for college or going directly to college, whatever. There used to, and I understand this is old man mentality, but there was a time when there was a little bit of purity in the game where you knew you had to play 4 years of high school, and then you go to college, and then you go to the NFL, right? Now, the NIL stuff has completely shifted all of that. The other interesting thing out of this is Texas was going to try and change these NIL laws to where high school kids could do it. But the Texas legislature cannot vote on this now because they are in special session over the voting rights stuff because the Democrats have left the state and they are in Washington, D.C., and it's this whole blah, blah, blah. So they can't even they can't put it on the docket anymore. And basically August 3rd, which is next week, Ewers would have to have this one class done, and he's on pace to get it done by then, and he will graduate, and he will go to Ohio State. Part of me hates this because it just makes everything about money, and it's just another sign of it. But I understand that that's the way that everything's going now. What were your thoughts when you saw this from Pete Thamel?
Well, the first thing that I realized was this guy did play 4 years of high school. He's 18 already. Yeah,
he's 18 already. I don't think he played his freshman year or whatever.
How many freshmen start at Texas?
Very
Texas. Okay, very few, right? So he went through the exact same college experience then, high school experience.
Yeah,
he played 3 years being the starting quarterback at this big Texas high school. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I don't care. Like, your senior year is supposed to be this special thing. Listen, everybody tries to make it something so much bigger than it is. Honest question, right now, you could have made $1 million, or you could go do your senior year. What would you have done?
I'd make the $1 million. It's not even a question.
Okay. Right. It's not even close either. My senior year sucked. Okay. I took 4 classes, and then after 4 classes, I went to work at a brake pad factory. All right. I breathed in asbestos for hours and hours and hours at a time. All right. When it had no heat and it had no air. So when it was cold outside, it was 34 degrees inside. Right. And when it was hot outside, it was 105 inside.
Yeah.
So, and there was nowhere to escape those things because you couldn't go outside or inside to heat up or cool off. Right? That's what I did for high school. Okay. Now I got paid really well. And you're talking 2001, 2000, 1999. I was making like $18 an hour back then. Like $16, $50, $17 topped out, or maybe around 18. That was amazing money for a guy my age with my skill level and education level. Okay. So if you could tell me that I could forego all of that and make $1 million, I'd have done it. So while I do think high school is big, if you're one of these kids that got held back, and he's basically been in high school for 4 years, he just wasn't classified as a senior, whatever, because he got held back. I don't care. I don't care. I'm not worried about it. I will tell you that there's going to come a day and a time where one of these kids is going to sit out, and it's going to hurt their recruiting class. Like the running back that did it, because he's trying to save his body for the miles. Man, we're having a different conversation. If you don't have major college football recruits coming after you, willing to let you enroll early, guaranteeing and signing your contract for your scholarship, and getting you NIL money your freshman year, your immediate year, then I would say you're dumb to do this. I don't think that running back has any of that at all coming his way.
No, I agree, because I mean he's ranked like number 82. He's a 4-star running back, 5-star, some stars, all that good stuff.
So we're having saying we've got two guys doing this, a little apples and oranges situation here. This kid, now the argument that Pete Thamel wrote about and a lot of other people are bringing up is he comes from means. All right. His family doesn't need the money. He's already, I don't know that they're independently wealthy, but they're very well off. His dad is in oil and gas, and we just assume that those guys roll around like Scrooge McDuck in money. All right. He's not hurting. Okay. But that's irrelevant. Just because your daddy's got something don't mean you got something, depending on what his daddy's morals are and the way his daddy lives his life and does things. If I had a shitload of money, I'm not giving it to my kids. What good is that? I'm just going to piss it away.
Do you think Ryan Day had anything to do with this?
Well, yeah. Why would you not? If you're the school that he's committed to, 100%, because until he shows up, a lot of other schools could come get him. Now, here's the thing that's weird. All right. They're starting a freshman quarterback that has basically, we assume, is going to play for 3 years before he goes and gets into the NFL, right?
Yeah, Stroud was technically the backup last year. He just didn't attempt any passes. He just handed the ball off. So, but regardless, they've got 3 guys on the roster that have not attempted a pass yet. This is a winnable job for Ewers right now.
No, it's not. No, it's not. So? He's not. I don't think he's going to come in this year and compete and win the job. That I don't think will happen. I think they've already got the quarterback that they're going to have. Whoever it is, Ryan Day knows the answer to that, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to go for it. The issue is if one of these guys turns into be all world, now this kid's got to be looking for the door, right?
Yeah.
Because you got a Joe Burrow situation where I came here, I didn't beat the other guys out, but I'm still the best quarterback in the world in my mind. So now I'm going to go find a place to play.
Yes, you're right. You are right. Let's talk NFL for just a little bit. Let's jump on Aaron Rodgers, and then we'll jump to the NFC East, and we'll do our quick previews. Aaron Rodgers had a press conference on Wednesday and went scorched earth. This was insane. I'm not used to NFL players talking about teams like this, especially when they are still on the team. Tom Pelissero jumped up there and asked, "What was this all about for you?" And Aaron Rodgers went for over 5 minutes before he allowed anybody else to ask a question. He basically embarrassed his employers for 20-plus minutes, knowing that they would do nothing about it. This was unlike any press conference that I can remember from an active NFL player talking about the team that he is with, that he is under contract with, etc. What did you think about this when all of it came down on Wednesday?
Well, I thought everything Aaron Rodgers said was complete and utter bullshit. It's all bullshit. Okay. Like him complaining that they didn't, he listed off a name of 20 guys that he was close to that they didn't re-sign and they didn't go keep or whatever. Listen, you son of a bitch. You take a higher percentage of salary from your team's salary cap, hard cap, than any player in the NFL. Okay. I don't want to hear you whining. You want to keep guys, do what Tom did. Walk in the door every offseason, renegotiate the deal, take less money, and make them sign and re-sign all these other guys, okay? Until you're doing that, then you don't get to tell the front office how to run things, all right? And some of those re-signings would have been awful. They just traded for his BFF, Randall Cobb. Do you know how good Randall Cobb has been since Randall Cobb left the Packers? Not at all. Randall Cobb has been awful.
Yes.
Awful. Yes. He is been overpaid and a regret to every team that has signed him since he has left the Packers. All right. And has played with him. I don't understand what, because that's your friend. Like that's fine to be your friend, but the front office can't run this place and just hire your friends. All right. We can't overpay you and hire your friends. We have a 63-man roster, a 53-man roster come Sundays that we got to cut this thing down to every week. And we don't have roster spots to just keep your friends on the roster, man. That ain't how this works. Clay Matthews was really, really good when he was there. When Clay Matthews left, Clay Matthews was never worth the money that Clay Matthews was paid. He was never the same Clay Matthews again. All right. That's just the truth. So letting all of these guys go that he listed off names, I don't know of a single one that would have been a good signing. I don't know of many that I think Green Bay's general manager has done a pretty good job. If you look at the names of Aaron Rodgers listed off of all these players that they let go, not a whole hell of a lot of them making Pro Bowls. Okay. Not a lot of them are first team NFL guys. So all you're doing is exposing the fact that we should not be asking your opinion about how to run the front office of this team, because all of these friends that we cut that you are mad about, we're all bad. They all signed bad deals. And even if we would have had the money, had we had the money to sign them, they would have been mistakes, but we didn't have the money because we paid you too damn much. So until you come in and give us the money back, we can't go sign bad contracts for friends that you want to keep on the roster. And then even then, that hurts us because we don't have the cap situation. We don't have the roster spot for players that can't play. Okay.
Yeah.
I think Aaron has drummed up all of this drama completely. He wants to embarrass them. I don't know why the front office has not traded him. I don't know why 3, 4, and 5 months ago, before the draft, why didn't they take the 3 first-round picks that they've had offered to them? It boggles my mind why this guy doesn't want. Yes, you're not going to draft or replace Aaron Rodgers with a guy that's as good as Aaron Rodgers. But if you think you're worth your salt as a GM, as a front office, maybe the combination of the 3 picks will make your team overall better. Okay? Is Tom Brady as good as Patrick Mahomes? No. Today, right now, he's not as good. Did he beat him in the Super Bowl? Yes, he did. Why? Because his team was better. All right. So if you take the 3 picks and you put a quarterback in there and surround them with better talent in 2 or 3 years, you can be a better football team. And you can be a better football team for 5 years down the road instead of just right now. Yeah. I don't understand why the front office didn't do this. You now have a cancer on your team that is not just talking shit to you openly being insubordinate in the media. He's in the locker room. So if you got an offensive lineman that you're looking to re-sign this year or next year, or you got a defensive player that you want to re-sign, or you know that you're going to extend, Aaron's in their ear right now saying, don't stick with these guys. Screw them. And right now, he's just planting seeds of doubt and negativity. That's what cancer does. It gets in and it just starts to spread. And that's all this guy's doing. Aaron has been about Aaron his entire career. That's it. That's the list.
I don't know that I could have put that any better myself. That was well put. I feel like there was a way for them to be able to work this out without it going so public, but I do agree with you very much.
Rodgers is the only one that has brought all the discourse, all the public problems, all the animosity, all come from one person. What would the front office have done other than trading him a long time ago? What could they have done to make him happy?
I think they should have traded him for sure.
Okay.
But on the other side of it, other quarterbacks that are the face of their franchise, they at least are told of decisions that are being made.
No, they're not. Patrick Mahomes is recently the only guy. Tom Brady was never told in New England what they were thinking about doing. Never. He's the best player to ever play.
That's
okay.
it.
They're just not. Nobody else is. You know why we don't let them? Because they want to do shit like Aaron Rodgers wants to do, which is pay all their friends and draft all the people they like. And when the GM looks back and says, these were all bad contracts. What did LeBron James have the Cavs do, by the way? He handpicked his entire team with the Cavs after he won the title. He got all these guys big contracts, long extensions, got all his friends paid, and then went out there and said, man, these guys suck. This team is not good. I'm out. I'm out of here. I can't win. You know why? Because you're not a good GM. You're too close to the situation. It's why the GM sits way the hell in the booth, a long way away from the rest of the players.
Yeah. Okay. I can side with that. I
disagree with the fact that we should let these guys have an opinion. I just do. If you want to tell them what you're doing, that's courtesy out of you, but I don't think you owe it to them, by the way. I just don't.
Okay.
Aaron's got one Super Bowl appearance, one Super Bowl ring. He's won one NFC championship his entire career. All right. If you want an opinion on how to run this franchise, you're going to have to give me more than one NFC title.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Down with that. You ready to jump into the NFC East?
Come on.
All right. Let me write my time down here. The NFC East 2021 predictions, previews, whatnot. We're going to talk about the good gracious, the win totals, our picks to win the division, all that good stuff. So let's dive in. First one up, the Dallas Cowboys. And last year was not great. Not great at all. This year, win total sits at 9.5. To go over is minus 110. To go under, minus 120. To win the division, they got the best odds, plus 125. Or not the best odds, the shortest odds, whatever. Plus 125. To win the NFC, they are plus 1,200. To make the playoffs, yes is minus 160. No is plus 130. Their season win total has gone under in 7 of the last 11 years and 3 of the last 4. They are almost always overvalued. 2020, they went under the 10 wins, of course. Their schedule this year, opponent win percentage, schedule strength, number 31. So next to easiest. And they are projected favorites in 9 games so far. Mike Nolan experiment on defense lasted 1 season. In comes Dan Quinn, former Falcons head coach, former Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator, and was fantastic as the Seahawks defense coordinator. They were 25-7. He basically created the Legion of Boom. Don't know that he'll be able to recreate that, but we shall see. The 3 times that Dallas has had a losing season since 2002, they have averaged 11 wins the next season. Dak back from injury. That's what the season basically comes down to. Is he healthy enough to play? Sounds like he is. Looks good at training camp so far. They need somebody to get the ball out quickly, and hopefully it is Dak because they've got weapons for days. Micah Parsons, Kelvin Joseph, they could start immediately on defense. Those are their 2 highest defensive draft picks. The question is, can the defense help out the offense enough for them to be successful this year? What have you got on Dallas? Do you believe in this team at all this year?
I do a little. It's all hinged upon can Dak stay healthy.
Yeah.
I'm not a Dan Quinn believer. I'm just not. I think they'll be better than they were last year, but that ain't saying a whole lot. I got this team at 10-7. I just barely over the over. Yep. I don't know that it would be a bet that I would make if I'm that close to the number, but I got them 10-7. I think they're good enough to make one of the wild cards, especially now that there's an extra wild card. But
I've got them at over 9.5. I've got them the same thing, 10-7. I've got them making the playoffs, minus 160. But we'll move off to the next team, and then at the end we will give out our division winners and all that good stuff. The New York Football Giants are next up on the docket. Their win total this year sits at 7. To go over is minus 135. To go under is plus 105. So, of course, Vegas seems to think, for whatever reason, that going under is less likely than going over. They got the 3rd best odds in the division at plus 400 to win the NFC overall, plus 2,800. And to make the playoffs, they are plus 200. To not make it is minus 260. Season win total has gone under 8 of the last 11 years and 7 of the last 8. In 2020, they went under the 6.5, but only by half a game. Opponent win strength or win percentage schedule strength is number 25, and they are projected favorites in 5 games. Now, Saquon Barkley comes back. Can he stay healthy? That has been the question thus far in his career. The offense had the 2nd lowest points averaged per game last season, only averaged 17.5 per game. Wide receiver core this year upgraded significantly. You got Kenny Golladay, John Ross, first rounder, Kadarius Toney out of Florida. The question is, can Daniel Jones find those guys along with Evan Ingram? He's kind of had some issues with that. The offensive line didn't seem like it was fixed a whole lot in the offseason, and they were pretty bad last year. The defense generated the 4th most fumbles last year, but they only recovered 39% of them. That was number 26 in the league. And they're going to have to get turnovers. Like, they are just going to have to be able to create those. Hopefully they'll have better turnover luck this year. They were not able to get pressure last year on defense, but they did draft outside linebacker Azeez Ojulari. I have got the Giants going under again, and it has everything to do with Jason Garrett. I think he's insanely predictable. I don't think that I don't know that Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. Even with all these weapons, I don't know that he'll be able to actually get the ball to them. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've got them 6-11. So that's under. I don't think they're going to be great. I don't like teams where your best player on the football team is your running back. I just don't think that brings you enough value to equate wins. And it's a running back coming off an injury. I mean,
yes.
For some reason, he's hobbled at any chance, which I don't think he is. We live in a world now where ACLs get repaired so easily. These guys, I don't know that the last time we had somebody tear one and then not come back. So I'm not too concerned about that. It's just the ability to, what good is that? I think Daniel Jones is a lot better than you give him credit for. But the problem is I don't trust them. You're right, Jason Garrett, to be able to scheme up anything special. And I don't think this defense is very good. And, I don't trust them. I've listened to a lot of NFL people and I've read a lot of NFL stuff over the last 2 months. And there's a lot of folks that are high on this team. And I just can't see it, man.
Well, they caught on, they kind of caught on fire a little bit towards the end of the season. But
look at the teams they played at the end of that season.
Exactly. Though. Exactly. That's why I'm questioning it. I'm just
that's the issue is we always say, oh, this team finished strong and they beat yada 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 and they did this and that. And then we don't look at who they actually beat to do those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. So we are both going under on the Giants. Next up here, we have got the Philadelphia Eagles, and they've got the easiest schedule in football, according to win percentage of their opponents. 6.5 is their total. Now, to win the division, plus 500, that's dead last. To win the NFC, actually the 12th best odds at plus 2,800, tied with the Giants. And to make the playoffs, they are plus 240. To go under, or to not make the playoffs is minus 300. So they expect them to not make the playoffs this year. They have gone under their season win total 6 of the last 11, and it's gone under the last 3 years. Of course, went way under last year with only 4 wins, and their total was 9.5. And they are projected favorites in 2 games this year. They got 2 great skill players in Devontae Smith and Kenny Golladay in the draft, but Jalen Hurts ranked dead last in completion percentage over expected in 2020, and he had the 6th most interception-worthy passes in the NFL last year. That is not a good combination. So it doesn't matter if you have weapons. If you can't get them the ball or you turn the ball over, that's going to hurt. So,
and he didn't play a full season last year. Obviously, he got, Carson got benched and Jalen took his job. A lot of these teams, they start seeing him a second and third time, they're just going to be able to pick him off. So this is where you got to hear this video, understand when we're doing it and how this works, because this is one of the hot teams that people are talking about might be in the running for Deshaun Watson.
Now, that would make sense.
Now, if this team trades for Deshaun Watson, you could take everything we say and throw it in the garbage.
Yes.
Because this is maybe I think Deshaun Watson is the second best quarterback in football right now. Like overall skill talent, I got Patrick, I got Deshaun. We're splitting hairs between like the top 4 or 5 guys, but he's in that conversation and he can't be outside of 5.
So this whole thing just blows up. This preview.
That's right. All those skill players get unbelievably better if Deshaun Watson walks in that door. Okay.
You are correct.
So I'm doing this based on the team as it is constituted right now. I've got them 5-11. What is the team total? What was their win total?
6.5.
Yeah, I got them going under that. Them going into that significantly.
You got them 5-11 or 6-11?
I'm sorry, 5-12. I apologize.
5-12.
I'm so used to the old ways of doing it. I've got them 5 wins. So I did the math.
That's what I was looking at. A projected favorite in only 2 games. Look, the offensive line was garbage last year. I don't know if that had a whole lot to do with Jalen Hurts. But they allowed the league worst 65 sacks last year. Big part of that, though, they had guys on the offensive line that missed 56 games combined last year.
Oh, they had a lot of injury problems. Let me tell you another thing, man.
They've had injury problems for years.
I wasn't a big not Doug Marrone. Oh gosh, the quarterback, the coach that got fired, won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I'm blank too. Hold on.
Anyway,
go ahead.
Wasn't a big fan of his, but at the same time, he's a hell of a lot better than who they got now.
Yes, so that's one of my notes.
Shocks me. This is a league where I bet on, just like in college. In the NFL, it's that times 3 or 4. Bet on quarterbacks, bet on coaches. Okay. That's the list. That's how my brain works. If I think you have a bad coach or a bad quarterback, I think there's a world. This team is going to be in tank mode. And we saw last year, they're not afraid to tank at all. I think there's a world where they are trying to tank to get the first round pick by the end of the season, by the halfway point of the season.
It was Doug Peterson, by the way.
Doug Peterson, that was it.
Yeah. The new coach, Nick Sirianni, he was the OC for the Colts, but he didn't call plays. He's just kind of.
You know how I feel. I never want the genius that works on the side of the genius. All right. Yes. Like I think Frank Reich was the architect of that genius season that the Eagles had. Okay. Why would I trust Doug Peterson when I think it was all Frank Reich? We got enough evidence to see probably Frank, because once Frank left, his team went to the shitter.
Yes, it did. I've got them going under the 6.5 as well. Got them not making the playoffs at minus 300. Yeah, that's the way it goes. So far,
team. I think they're going to, and this is a team that likes analytics. When football hasn't done a lot of tanking, I absolutely think over the next couple of years we're going to see more tanking. I think this team is going to be in tank mode this year.
I think so as well. I think so as well.
Under's almost a dead nuts lock.
Let's move on. The Washington football team. I know that you absolutely love these guys. Ron Rivera and his bunch. Their win total this year, 8.5. To go over is minus 120. To go under is minus 110. For the Eagles, to go under, by the way, was plus 125.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're getting great odds at going under, too.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, crap. That's 2 unders we're getting positive odds on.
Yes. I mean, it's insane. So, Washington, to win the division, they're number 2, plus 225. To win the NFC, number 8, plus 220. Sorry, plus 2,200. And to make the playoffs, they are plus 130. No is minus 160. Schedule win total has gone under 6 of the last 11, but it's over 3, 2, and 1 over the last 6. They did push one of those years. They went over the 5.5 last year. Of course, they won the NFC East. Quick note about that. It has been 16 seasons since we've had a repeat champion in the NFC East. That's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means for this year, but either way, on offense, they brought in Fitzmagic. They brought in wide receiver Curtis Samuel. They drafted wide receiver De'Ami Brown out of North Carolina in the 3rd round. I think he's going to be a stud. Offense last year was number 31 in EPA, and Fitz himself, out of all the quarterbacks, was number 6. Number 5 in air yards over the last 5 years. So
this offense is going to look so different.
Yes,
those skill players that they have.
They're a projected favorite in only 3 games. They have got per the opponent win percentage schedule strength. They have got the number 15 schedule. You look at Warren Sharp stuff, and they have got the number 8 toughest schedule in the NFL this year. It's going to be pretty tough. The defense signed cornerback William Jackson III. They drafted Jamin Davis out of Kentucky. Here's the deal: Ron Rivera knows how to win. Jack Del Rio's defense was number 3 in EPA last year. They were number 8 in pressure rate. I believe in this team. However, Fitzpatrick, even with all of his offense and all that good stuff, going up against this schedule, I think it's going to be kind of tough, man. I have actually got them going under the 8.5, but only by half a game. I've got them winning 8 games, but you look at that schedule, and it is just hardcore, man. That's the only reason. So I've got them not making the playoffs at minus 160. Give me. I know you're going over because there's no way you could.
Bigly over. This is an 11-6 football team. I think they're going to dominate this division. I don't think there's a game. There's a world where they might split with Dallas. I think if you told me, do I think there's a better chance that they go 6-0 or 5-1, I think there's a better chance they go 6-0 against this division. I just do. I think they're set up the way they are built. They're set up and they are built to beat these teams. All right. Are they going to struggle with some of these other teams? Yes. But I think this offense is going to look way different than what it looked like last year. They have speed like nobody's business, and they had nobody who could throw the ball down the field. And let me tell you what, when Ryan Fitzpatrick absolutely can air it out, and he's going to let these young guys run. These are going to be horses that have the reins taken off of them for the first time in the NFL. And I'm going to tell you this, the first 4 to 5 weeks, DBs are going to be losing their shit trying to figure out who do we put to cover these dudes, because we never saw how fast they could be in the past, because they were never able to run wide open ever, because they didn't have a trigger man who could get them the ball downfield.
You might be right about that.
I love this football team. I think they've got a dark horse chance of winning the NFC this year. I know that's crazy.
That's it. Then you better get them odds, plus 2,200.
I don't know that I want to bet it, but I might just for a little bit, just to have a ticket, to say I've got a ticket, man. I really think they're good. I believe in Ron Rivera. I believe in defense. I think there's a chance where last year they were the third best defense. I think they're better this year. And I know that I worship at the feet of Myles Garrett. If there was anybody I was going to get a ticket on outside of not name Myles Garrett for Defensive Player of the Year, it'd be Chase Young.
Yeah. No, he was good last year. Nobody paid attention.
And I think he's going to be better. I think he's going to be a lot better. I think everybody's going to be. By week 6, everybody in the country is going to be paying attention to this team. We all know their defense is going to be good. We're going to have our hair blown back. I think early in seasons, I think you're going to have a lot of value on the over with this team, because I think they're all going to assume low-scoring games, and I think their offense is going to be a lot better than people expect, and it's going to catch them off guard.
They're scheduled to start off with. They open with the Giants at home, and then they have regular season. Let's roll with that. The Chargers at home, then the Giants, then at Buffalo, at the Falcons, Saints, Chiefs. That's week 6. So you think they can get through week 6, huh?
Yeah, I do. Now, they're not going to win all of those games, obviously, but I think they can hang with all of those teams. I think they're going to beat some of those teams. I think they're going to beat most of them, actually.
And check out this stretch. From week 5 through week 10, there is a bye in there, but week 5, of course, the Saints, Chiefs, at the Packers, at the Broncos, and the Bucks.
We're gonna get there, and I know I'm stepping on it now. That Saints game ain't worrying me a bit.
I might agree with you. We're gonna get there.
I think that team is looking like some problems.
So you have got the Redskins winning the division.
I got
not the football team. Sorry. I might never get used to that. You know.
It's fine.
So you've got them at plus 225. I've got the Cowboys winning at plus 125. I don't like it nearly as much, but that is the way that it goes.
Love it.
I know you do. I know that you do. All right. With that said, we are going to go ahead and get out of here. We've got the AFC East and your Patriots and whatnot on the Monday show. So we'll be doing that, over the weekend, getting our stuff together for that. And I'm sure there will be much more realignment talk and all that good stuff. So with that said, is there anything else we need to hit?
Nope.
Wonderful. All right. You guys have been awesome. Go to winningcureseverything.com. Go to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. And, of course, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and hopefully all of you take it to cash this week.
Thanks for checking out Winning Cures Everything podcast. If you want to keep up with us, hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Visit the website at winningcureseverything.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us at Winning Cures, at Gary WCE, or at Chris B.